Something about this week didn't sit right. Because on one hand, we watched the President of the United States publicly defend the right to protest. And on the other hand, federal agents were dragging people out of their cars that same night. Those two things are not supposed to exist at the same time. So let's talk about the part everyone keeps skipping. Earlier this week, Donald Trump visited a Ford manufacturing plant. Real factory, real workers, real cameras. And during that visit, one worker yelled at him. Not politely, not subtly. Trump responded by appearing to mouth an expletive and flipping the man off.
As the president toured a Ford manufacturing factory, this moment caught on camera and video obtained by TMZ. One man shouting at the president, "pedophile protector." President Trump mouthing an expletive in response and appearing to give the man the middle finger.
Now, on its own, that's not a constitutional crisis. It's petty. It's unbecoming. But it's not the headline. The headline came after, because later that same day, Trump gave remarks about protesters, specifically protests tied to government abuse and violence. He said this, "Keep protesting. You're being very badly abused. One death is too much."
Keep protesting and save the name of the killers and the abusers that are abusing you. You're being very badly abused. One death is too much.
At face value, that sounds like concern, empathy, even. But that's not where the story ends. That's where the contradiction starts. Because while those words were still fresh, while the cameras were still rolling, federal activity in Minnesota escalated. Not hypothetically, not rhetorically, physically. Flashbangs lighting up the sky, pepper balls fired point blank. People pulled from their vehicles. Citizens asked for identification selectively. And here's the key detail people gloss over. This escalation didn't come after chaos. It came after reassurance, which means it wasn't reactive. It was deliberate. Public message, restraint. Operational reality, crackdown. That's contradiction. Let's be precise. ICE agents reportedly asked non-white workers for ID and skipped the white workers standing right next to them. American citizens detained outside a Target. Native American men detained in Minneapolis. Native Americans. Americans is literally in the name. An Uber driver questioned because of an accent. In Minnesota, where half the state sounds like they're apologizing for existing. This wasn't targeting the worst of the worst. This was broad, sloppy enforcement, happening at scale. Now, here's where media manipulation creeps in. The official framing was simple. Law enforcement restoring order. But what Minnesotans actually saw was different. They saw neighbors stopped on highways. They saw IDs demanded at random. They saw communities treated as suspects by default.
Trump administration has only doubled or tripled down on these ICE raids, leading to more instances of racial profiling.
The ICE agents asked to see the IDs of the 3 non-white employees and didn't even bother to ask the white employee for the identification.
Stops at highway exits where people are being pulled out of their cars and asked to show identification.
An American citizen named Christian Molina was driving down the road when ICE knocked on his door and asked for him to show him his identification.
Agents arresting 2 workers outside a Minnesota Target. A state lawmaker says they're both U.S. citizens.
I'm literally a U.S. citizen.
ICE agents demanding that an Uber driver show them ID.
I'm working, dude.
You were from this country.
What do you mean? What do you mean if I'm from this country?
I can hear you don't have the same accent as me. That's why I'm
Oh, so you're going by accents now?
I want to know where you were born. Where were you born?
And when people pushed back, not violently, not armed, they were labeled the problem. That framing matters. Because once protest itself becomes suspicious, everything after, that is easier to justify. And that's the part people feel, even if they why can't articulate it yet. What happened next is important. Because instead of fear, the response was coordination. People delivering groceries to immigrant families. Whistles used as alerts. Neighbors watching out for neighbors. Not chaos. Community. And yes, humor, sarcasm, ridicule. Because ridicule is what power hates most. You can arrest people. You can intimidate people. But once people stop taking you seriously, that's when control starts slipping. Right-wing media tried to reframe this on the ground, tried to have conversations, and instead, they ran into something unexpected. People who weren't afraid, people who weren't impressed, people who mocked the performance instead of participating in it. And that reaction, whether you like the tone or not, is a signal. It tells you legitimacy is cracking.
Some community members are not only protesting, they're also looking out for their neighbors.
Volunteers delivering groceries to immigrant families.
All around the Twin Cities, you hear these ear-piercing whistles. Activists blow the whistles when they see agents to alert the anti-ICE network.
Agents drive in and out all day, greeted by protesters with profanity and occasional slices of bologna thrown at their vehicles.
Oh man, I'm on fire.
Here's the broader point. This wasn't about one flipped finger. It wasn't about one protest. It wasn't about one agency. It was about power saying one thing and doing another and assuming people would and connect the dots. But people did. Here's the takeaway, and this is the part worth repeating. You can't praise protest in public while punishing it in practice and expect people not to notice. That contradiction destroys trust, not partisan trust, institutional trust. And once that's gone, every action after that feels suspect, even the ones that might otherwise be justified. That's how democracies don't collapse overnight. They erode through inconsistencies everyone's told to ignore. And when citizens start asking for logic instead of loyalty, that's not radical. That's American. So here's the question I'll leave you with. Was this incompetence, or was it consistency behind the scenes and theater up front? Drop your thoughts below. And if you want calm, no-spin political commentary that actually respects your intelligence, subscribe to Breaking Supporters. We'll keep watching the parts others rush past.
Jesse.